It's time for the Sports Blitz, the only live-streamed local sports show in Arkansas, with all the latest on the sports stories that matter to you.
Welcome in on a Friday to the Sports Blitz. Mark Freeman, Weldon Braxton, Emily Young, still in for Maddie Lassiter. Found out this morning the dude may have gotten salmonella poisoning. That's no fun. He's had a rough week, but he'll be back on Monday. Emily's doing a good job of filling in and producing for us, and we are glad you've chosen to join us today here at rivervalleyleader.com. We'll be here from 11 to noon talking local, college, professional sports. You can give us a call at 968-NEWS. Weldon, we've got a wealth of topics today.
As we always do, Mark. I mean, there's never a shortage of topics here on the Sports Blitz. And you're looking around what's going on right now. The NCAA tournament has come to an end. College football's in spring session, and there's not a whole lot going on, but it's always good to talk about things in the off season. We're going to hit some college football topics. Of course, we know unionization's a big deal, a lot of debate, a lot of discussion, a lot of different angles. A lot of people lying, saying they know what they're talking about when they really don't when it comes to this issue. We're going to dig into it a little bit ourselves. Arkansas Razorback news on the baseball diamond. They start a huge set against LSU this weekend. They got to right the ship against UNLV. Offensively, they look pretty good. Granted, against a pitcher that wasn't all that good, but when you're Arkansas, you just want some confidence when it comes to being at the plate. So it was good for them. Basketball news. There's a new hog. Basketball-wise, we'll educate you on that. There's so much going on, Mark.
Yeah, we talked to you Wednesday about a hog that is no longer. D. Wagner was, I don't know. He chose to go someplace else, and I don't think that Mike Anderson said you're not going to have a spot.
Yeah, that came out. Yeah,
it's just kind of funny how the next day, all the rumors that we've been talking about, and the player that's going to come, we'll just break the news now. The player who, and it's not breaking news because it came out the other day, but Dusty Hannes, former Pulaski Academy Bruin, went to Texas Tech, played 2 years, had good minutes the first year, didn't have as many the second year under Tubby Smith, and was basically told, this is how it's going to be, or it's not going to go up here really for you, it's going to go down. Yeah. And so he chooses to transfer. Arkansas doesn't have a spot. D. Wagner transfers. Arkansas automatically has a spot. There comes Dusty Hannes.
It just wasn't working out for D. Wagner. I mean, look. He came from Louisiana. He was a scoring, shoot-first type guard. At his size, with that type of game, you better be really, really good. I'm talking like Pierre Jackson type. Pierre Jackson scoring 40, 50 points in the D-League. You better be like that if you're going to have that mentality. Otherwise, you need to be more of a distributor, a floor general. D. Wagner wanted to come in, score, jack it up. That just wasn't going to get it done at this level. And I think this would have happened a year ago, but Arkansas only brought in a couple of bigs. You look at Kingsley, you look at Portis. So D. Wagner said, hey, you ain't recruit on top of me yet. Well, that dream came crashing down this offseason. Yeah. Because Arkansas brought in not one, but two players right in the position of D. Wagner. If that doesn't give you the hint, I don't know what will. So he does leave. Dusty Hannes comes in. Now, he will have to sit out, of course, we know.
Unless he can find a sick grandma.
If he can dig one up somewhere and find a sick grandma, if he can get her, that'll be great. It'll help out. But it looks as though, Mark, he'll end up sitting out, which it's okay. I mean, we can use some shooting this year, but next year, hey, shooting is shooting. You need it every year. He'll be there to help. I get some people a little bit lukewarm on it. They look at stats, Mark, and they say, well, is he that good? Is he not? But I think in a role where he's not like, here's our star player, we're going to run everything for him. He's just another cog in the wheel, and I think he can be very good in that role.
I mean, can he not be Pat Bradley? I mean, is that too much to ask? I'm not saying that he's going to be as prolific a shooter as Pat Bradley, but he's every bit as accurate. Like, he can shoot the heck out of that ball. Yeah. I saw him. I watched him in the state championship game against Clarksville, and I heard Ron Crawford talk about it last night. He had 43 points, was hitting everything he was throwing up. Mid-range, long threes, free throws. He was a 96% free throw shooter in Big 12 play this year. Mm-hmm. He didn't qualify because he didn't shoot enough of them, but he's shooting 92% for his career from the free throw line. And he's he's a 40-ish% three-point shooter, but you think about, in a half-court offense shooting 40%, it's a little different than what he's going to be asked to do at Arkansas where, it's run up and down and, in transition hit a three. I mean, he's the kind of guy that you need to plug in that kind of position. And that's what we've been asking for years as Razorback fans. Let's put guys in positions we know they can be successful. We need the Pat Bradley type guy who's just going to be, will run up and down and guard, but then he'll also hit that transition three, or he'll hit the open shot whenever it comes to him. Get a point guard who can run the show, and Anton Beard and Jabril Durham. We've heard a lot. I've heard learned a little bit about Durham yesterday, that he's a true point guard, and Anton Beard is a little bit more of a scorer, but he can obviously play the point role as well. You can move Kai Madden off the ball. It's going to help. Yeah, it's going to help the Razorbacks in a big way to have the point guard. And like you said, D. Wagner sort of saw the writing on the wall that, we brought in 2 point guards who are going to be better than you immediately. You might ought to go to Tech or someplace. No offense to anybody, but he ought to go someplace else where he can play, because those 2 guys are coming for him.
And for those who look at it and say, well, does he fit the style of play? Is he going to be able to trap full court, do these things? Is that a concern? Look, every team has, even good teams have, a couple of guys who may not be the most athletic or the best defensively. You go back and look at some of the old Rick Pitino teams. Rick Pitino always had a couple of those guys who you may not say they're great presser or trappers, but he always had some on the team that could spread the floor and shoot, and they'd fit in just fine. Of course, you mentioned with Coach Richardson and Pat Bradley and Remock, and he's had guys over the years that just, they may not be an athletic trapping type. Now, you don't want 3 of them on the floor at one time, but to have 1 or 2, I mean, Rick Pitino still does it at Louisville. He still keeps a couple of guys, because you have to have shot makers. I don't care what style you're playing.
And I do think Ron Crawford made the point. I want to get Ron Crawford on the show sometime, but he made the point yesterday that, people have kind of pigeonholed Dusty Hannas is the spot-up shooter, and that's all he can do. But that's not really what he is. He's a 6'4" athlete. He
handles the ball.
And I can say this because I have the same skin pigmentation as Dusty Hannas, but he gets a bad rap because he's white. You think he's not athletic at all because he's a white kid. That's true. He can shoot. And I hadn't seen him do this, but I was listening to Ron yesterday, and he was talking about how he can dunk it any way you want it. He can go up and make plays. And look, I watched him play against some of the most athletic kids in the country. Archie Goodwin 2 years ago put 40-some on them and didn't hit a 3 in the whole game. And then the state championship game against Clarksville. Now, they got beat, but he was hitting everything he threw at the rim that day against some very good athletes. Yeah. So I know there weren't like high Division I SEC athletes, but he's going to be able to contribute and help. Eventually, 2 years, he'll at least be able to get that learning curve and practice, and I think he's going to help.
Yeah. I mean, I watched a few of his games, a little bit against Oklahoma State. I think it was Kansas they played. They played well against Kansas too. Andrew Wiggins, obviously on that team, they have some, Sell and some athletes on that wing, so he can definitely compete. Handle the ball a lot more than what people think too. This guy can handle it a little bit. Won't be a point guard or anything, but yeah, you're right. He can create his own shot and get his own offense. So another bonus.
Looking forward to seeing the Hog basketball team take that next step next year. It's tournament or bust, really. And if you look at the early bracketology, now I'm talking early, like season just ended next couple of days. Here's the bracketology. Arkansas was an 11 seed playing in to get into the tournament. I don't have a big problem with that. I just want them to see them make the tournament, stay out of that 8-9 game. Unless you get a week 1 there, and then go from there.
My bracketology philosophy, though. I don't even like looking at it in December or January.
Yeah. Well, it just means that they think that they're going to be able to compete enough to make the tournament.
Well, I would hope so. I mean, if Arkansas can't even compete for a tournament spot next year, Mike Anderson, you can get his U-Haul out. I mean, the minimum is the bubble. The bubble is the minimum next year. I mean, really, that's not even the good side of it either. That still may cost you. Arkansas, they had better be in the tournament squarely. When I say squarely, I'm not talking they have to be a 7 or a 6, but I'm talking about like a 10 or, because usually that 10 seed is kind of like the cutoff to where you're comfortably in. If you're an 11 on back, you may get that at large, but you're still kind of sweating a little bit and watching on Selection Sunday. But if you're kind of that 10, most time, especially a high 10 pushing a 9, you're comfortably in the tournament. That's where I want to see Arkansas next year. That's where they need to be.
They've got to be there. That's exactly right. All right. Today we want to hit some local sports as well. Like we mentioned, we've got plenty of stuff, Arkansas Razorback talk, spring football practice, and things like that we want to get to. But locally, I've got some information. We talked about the Russellville baseball team the other day. They got a 7-1 win over Valonia. They got a big win yesterday over Greenwood, a makeup game from the rain out earlier in the week. I think it was a 2-1 win. I don't have that number right in front of me, but I saw some stats yesterday. I was putting together stuff for the Brightest Stars banquet, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. Those of you who watch the show every week are probably getting tired of me telling you about it, but I want to, for those that haven't watched, haven't heard, we got to give you some information on the Brightest Stars banquet. But I was putting some stuff together yesterday, and Andrea Kendrick, I'll just be honest with you. This is non-biased. This is just me saying, if she doesn't win the softball award, something's wrong. I was reading her stats, Weldon. She's 12-0.
Right.
Her ERA. Do you want to take a stab at what her ERA is? 12-0 this year.
I'm gonna go 0.18.
0.048. She gives up a run every 3 games. She's unbelievable, and she's hitting 656 with 6 home runs in 32 plate appearances, 21 hits. It's unbelievable what Andrea Kendrick is doing for the Russellville Lady Cyclone softball team. It's well documented. Her 9th grade year takes them to the state championship game as a pitcher. They lose 1-0 to Lake Hamilton in the state championship game. It was brutal, and I was there. That Lake Hamilton run, the girl was out at home, and they called her safe. But they lost 1-0. Then last year they go ahead and win it all. This year, all signs point to Andrea Kendrick dominating again. If they can get some runs, what I do, if I'm the other team, I'm scrapping and praying and clawing for 1 run, and then I'm not pitching to Andrea Kendrick. I'm putting her go step on first. I'm not even going to throw it. I want to talk to the umpire before you even get to the plate. Don't even step in the box. Just stand over there on first, because she's unreal what she's doing right now for the Lady Cyclones, and we have to tip our cap to her because she's doing incredible things. The Lady Cyclones, like we said, 12-0, and she's leading them on both sides of the ball there. But we got some nominees. Got 100 nominees. I'm super excited about the turnout we had for a first-year banquet for the coaches. You know, I know I have some friends at, Russellville, Pottsville, Clarksville, and Dardanelle that were kind of bugging people for me. They were calling up and texting and emailing coaches and telling them to send in stuff. And you can tell because there are some schools who sent me this many nominees and some schools who sent me this many nominees. So we've got a whole lot of representation, 100 athletes nominated in every sport. Every sport is accounted for. Not every sport from every school, but every school is accounted for and every sport is accounted for. So we've got a great banquet coming your way. I talked to Aaron Peters the other day, and he's looking forward to the event, looking forward to coming out, and you can get your tickets. I've finished up my part of the ballot procedure. Emily's going to put together the ballot for me, and we're going to send it to the coaches. We'll find out who the winners are in the next 2 weeks, and we'll have to sit on that information and not let that get out because it's going to be a real cool night where at the Brightest Stars banquet, May 29th, 6 o'clock at Russellville High School cafeteria. We're going to do it like an ESPYs type Oscars or Emmys award show where you don't know the winner is. You're showing up, you see the 3 finalists. You can, all the nominees can come if they like, but the 3 finalists get their tickets paid for. They get to show up, and on the night of the event, we'll announce the winner. Nobody's going to be more shocked than we are about who the winners are. Well, I'll know, but nobody else will. Who the winners are, it's just going to be an awesome event. The tickets are available. You can go to rivervalleyleader.com, and then at the top right, there's a place where it says Brightest Stars tickets. You can buy your tickets right there. They're $25. You can hear Aaron Peters. You can get a nice catered dinner from Italian Gardens, and you can get to see local student athletes honored for their achievements on the field and on the court. And I was talking with somebody yesterday, Weldon, who I hadn't even told you this yet, who is looking to sponsor the scholarship next year. And if it turns out like we talked about it yesterday, this scholarship could turn into a couple scholarships, and they could be really good ones. So I'm looking at this banquet. First year you expect it to be a little smaller, and you expect people to not quite buy in yet. But after this year, when they see that, I had an athlete who I thought was better than that one, and my kid, you didn't nominate your athlete. Yeah. I'm going to see this kind of expand, and then we're going to see local businesses want to take part and help us throw this banquet. And we're not doing this to make money. We're doing this to honor these student athletes and these coaches. coaches, because everything we make is going into the banquet and then rolling into next year and then paying for the scholarships and stuff like that. So when they see that the labor of love that this has been, and they get to be a part of it this year, or they don't take part in it this year, and their athletes don't get nominated and don't win, then next year they're going to turn around and want to be a part. So I'm looking forward to May 29th for the Brightest Stars Banquet.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun event, Mark. And you're right about one thing. Some people will be out there and they'll see people get nominated and people win awards, and they're saying, well, what about my child? My child was better. But the thing about it, Mark, you got to be ready. They're not going to know who to blame at first. So they're going to start trying to blame you. And then that's when you're going to have to deflect them to the athletic director and the coach. So let me just tell you this. If you're watching, don't put it this way. Mark did his job. He got the emails out to the athletic directors.
Hey, don't even blame the athletic directors, because I know I've contacted each one of them, and they have sent this on.
They got it to the coach. Well, that's even better. Don't even bypass the AD. Go straight to the coach.
The parents love to gripe at coaches. So,
yeah.
Oh, Lord, I can just imagine. I'm going to get it from both directions. I'm going to get the parents mad at me. I'm going to send them on to the coaches. Then the coaches are going to come back around and be mad at me because the parents were yelling at them. So, Oh, Lord, I'm looking forward to that. May 29th, get your tickets and come help out this awesome, worthwhile event. I'm looking forward to it. I'm very excited about it. Emily and I are working on the ballot stuff right now. So in the next couple weeks, all the hard work will be done, and then it'll be just promoting the event and getting the word out there about it. So we're looking forward to that. Before we leave for our first break, need to let you know that the coach nominees, we've asked for coaches to be nominated by area coaches, and the finalists, the top 3 vote getters, we know who the winner is, and we won't tell you, but we know who the winner is. We've got the finalists for Coach of the Year. Those 3 finalists are Coach Mark Taylor from Hector Football, Coach Josh Price from Dardanelle Football, and Coach Chance Johnson from Pottsville Girls Basketball. Very, very worthy award nominees and finalists. And we saw a lot of names mentioned from a lot of different coaches, a lot of different schools from around the area. Every school, and I didn't even mention this on Wednesday, every school was mentioned in the coach nominees. So these coaches have a lot of respect for each other around the River Valley. But those 3 stood out among the rest, and those 3 were the top vote getters. You'll find out on May 29th who the River Valley leader and Sports Blitz Brightest Stars Banquet award-winning Coach of the Year is. We've got much more on the Sports Blitz. Stay with us.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. We've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 Today this morning,
here's what you missed.
Updated news.
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
Developing stories.
It's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
And weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on. KARK4 Today.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
It's a busy Friday on the Sports Blitz. Mark Freeman, Weldon Braxton, Emily Young in the Cogswell Motors studios. Let's take a deep breath and let's get to the wire. It's where we talk about state and national topics, probably the biggest topic right now going on right now. I know Tiger's not in it, but the Masters is going on. I went and visited with a partner, a local business partner here in town, and he was talking about, hey, the Masters is a thing into itself. I don't care if Tiger Woods ever plays in it. The Masters and that course is enough. And Bill Haas right now sitting at 4 under, Bubba Watson also at 4 under, and Jonas, some name I can't pronounce, Blixt, B-L-I-X-T, also at 4 under. Adam Scott, a shot off the lead. Well, it goes without saying, the numbers, they're going to be good, but they're going to be down from if Tiger Woods was playing and in contention. But right now, the Masters going on live on ESPN.
Look, I respect the so-called purists. I respect those who say the Masters experience for them won't change. I'm not here to refute it or say that it's wrong, because I get it. If you've been a golf fan for decades, this doesn't change a whole lot for you. But you have to understand one thing, and I came to this realization when it comes to football and how I view football versus everybody else. You're not in the majority. If you're a golf purist, you have your feelings to be respected, but you don't make up the majority of the golf audience. You just don't. So you have to understand that the ratings are going to be down. Overall interest is going to be lower without Tiger Woods. That's not to say that your position is wrong or you should be ashamed of it. It's just that golf was moved by Tiger Woods when he's playing. It went to a whole new level. The numbers back it up, the ratings, all that, the purses, all that stuff backs it up. There will always be star players, even after Tiger Woods is gone. There were stars before. But were they transcendent stars the way Tiger Woods was? Will there continue to be that? I don't know. I heard Skip Bayless the other day say, well, I remember when Jack and Arnold and then Gary Player and all these guys and Johnny Miller, all these guys that were playing, and we had a bunch of stars, and I remember all that. The problem is you don't have a basket full of stars. If you had 3 or 4 other superstar golfers and Tiger was out, I would say sure, no big deal. But Tiger Woods is the name. Rory's a great young player, doesn't move the needle. Phil can move the needle a little bit because he'll try some crazy trick shot from between pine trees, and he'll pull it off a lot of times. Or he'll
shoot it oppo-handed if he has to.
He'll shoot oppo, and sometimes he'll go in the water, sometimes he'll go right by the hole. So Phil is good TV. Bubba Watson, a self-made man that never took a golf lesson, he's good TV, won it a couple of years ago. But other than that, you don't have the huge guys to move the needle the way Tiger did. I'm sorry. I don't make the rules. It's the way it is.
I'm not going to watch, and I'm not going to care. And that's if you're trying to. I know that the Masters is for the golf purist. It is for the golf loving. I'll watch it every weekend. Go play it on my days off type person. I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
And if you want to expand past that small, very intense core, you have to get guys like me to watch Tiger. I don't know why. Right. I don't even know if it's explainable why I watch when Tiger's in it. I don't know. It's just
Tiger's interesting.
I'm kind of a front runner. I mean, I really kind of am.
Yes,
Like I watch the best, and I appreciate the best. Like I didn't grow up with any of these guys. I'm not. I'm not a big fan. But I used to get so mad at one of my friends, Dustin Zeeler, a good friend from high school. He loved Charles Barkley. And he was great. Charles Barkley was great, but obviously I was a Michael Jordan guy. He was the best. Well, he'd tell me Charles Barkley was the best in the world, and it just irked me because we both knew it wasn't true. And even growing up, he admitted later, he's like, yeah, I was just trying to mess with you guys. But Tiger, to me, I watched basketball for Michael Jordan. I watched the Dallas Cowboys back when I grew up, and now that may have been front running, but I was 6 years old, so I was just really doing what Dad liked, and he's always liked the Cowboys. So I got lucky, and I had Emmitt Smith and Michael Irvin and Troy Aikman and those guys. I watched the best ones. Tiger Woods, I know he's not going to reach Jack Nicklaus now. He's 4 off the pace, and he's been hurt and hadn't won one since he got hit with a golf club. But he's been the man, and he's been the best. And when he's not there, it's just kind of like a little bit of interest and intrigue has left.
Look, Tiger is interesting. I mean, look, he hadn't won a major in 5 years, but Tiger Woods is still interesting, or maybe going on 6. 08 U.S. Open. I mean, but Tiger's interesting because He may be a train wreck. He may come out and play well. He's demonstrative. I mean, he brings what you see in other sports to the golf course in terms of the emotion and the celebrations and the antics and all these different things. He brings that to the golf course. Look, Tiger Woods is interesting whether he's on the top of his game or if he's not playing. People want to watch Tiger. The difference is, like I said, you don't have enough stars around Tiger. Tom Brady gets hurt to start the 2008 season. The NFL was great. Why? Because you got Peyton, you got everybody else in the league still going. If an NBA star gets hurt, and let's hope it doesn't happen, but we've seen it before, there's other NBA stars. There are no other golf superstars. And again, this is not about golf talent. I get there's a lot of young talent in golf, but nobody knows who they are, and nobody's trying to care to know who they are. Again, I don't make the rules. That's how it is.
That is a good point, and a good thought to point out. It's not about talent. There may be more talent on the tour than there's ever been, but there's not as many characters. You don't. Yeah. And I don't know. I didn't grow up watching Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer and all those guys play, so I don't know how it was back then. But it seemed like those guys were the ones that you would quote unquote go have a beer with. You're that guy. And Tiger, I don't know that anybody would want to do that, but he's just fun to watch because you never know if he's gonna hit one 400 yards or off in the trees and then pull something out of his rear end, Phil Mickelson style, or if he's gonna cuss in front of the camera. Or what. Yeah, he's I don't know. He was compelling. That was the good word.
He's compelling. And look, you look at Arnold and Jack. Like those guys were stars in sports. Like you look at back in that era. You talk about Jack. You talk about Gary Player. You talk about Arnold Palmer. In the same breath that you talk about Kareem and Wilt and anybody else, Joe Namath, all those sports stars from back then. I mean, they were all together. You talk about Tiger in the same conversation as LeBron and Peyton Manning and all these guys, but nobody's mentioning Rory McIlroy with the stars of like LeBron James. Nobody's even mentioning Phil Mickelson or Adam Scott to that degree. They don't have the transcendent athletes, of other sports, and that's why the interest isn't quite there. But again, I respect the people who are golf purists. I don't call myself a purist per se, but I am going to be watching this weekend. I'm going to watch Sunday because Sunday is fantastic. Even when Tiger's been out of the mix, I'm going to watch it, but I don't blame people who don't.
All right, that's enough golf for this show. There are other shows in the state you can listen to if you want to talk all golf for 3 hours.
Tournament, yeah.
You can listen to those guys if you want to hear a little bit more golf and debate the topics there. But let's move on. Did you see the dirt, quote unquote, on Yankees pitcher Pineda's hand last night? It looked a whole lot. Michael Pineda, it looked a lot like pine tar on his hand there.
An awful lot.
And it was funny. I heard an outcry last night about it, and I was like, that's bullcrap. He's got this stinking pine tar on his hand, and then I heard after the game that the Red Sox were kind of like, we're just gonna let it go, and I was like,
yeah.
Why? And then somebody said, well, the reason and I heard it this morning, the reason they're letting it go is because they do it too. And they don't want, they'll put it on their forearm or they'll put it, on the inside, or they'll put it on their wrist or they'll put it on their hat, and they'll get a little bit extra on that. And you watch the breaking ball just like fall off the table or really bite. And he had it going last night. And I don't know, it had to had some effect because he was not being touched when he had that. And then you watch him, and I think it was the third inning, it's all over his hand, or the fifth inning, and then either the fifth or the seventh inning, it's all gone. Yeah. And then he starts getting hit a little bit. So it's just kind of like,
Yeah, look, you have a rule that's completely irrelevant when the team who is being offended is not offended, or the team being violated against has no complaint. Look, it helps a pitcher, obviously, but look, it's a safety issue, too, because, look, we're in early April, still early-ish April, and they're up in New York. It is still pretty chilly up there for some of these games, especially at night. Pineda can throw it. You do not want, Mark, I'm sure you can understand this, a 97-mile-an-hour fastball coming from a guy that has slick hands who can't control where it's going. If you're a hitter, that is not what you want. You'd rather him sit there and strike you out rather than throw 97 at you and not know exactly where it's going, because it could be going at your head. It could be hitting you somewhere. So the Red Sox, they're like a lot of other teams. They'll think, look, we want you to be able to control it. We'll hit it if we can hit it, but number one thing, we don't want you beating us in the head with 97-mile-an-hour fastball. So you tar it up. You make sure you get some control, because I'm telling you that the players think about these things. They do not. They want these pitchers to have a degree of control so they don't get hit with a baseball.
See, I think I'm more on the other side where it's just like, okay, we're gonna do it and we're gonna get away with it. So we're just it's kind of one of those unwritten rules, like
that's part of it. But the players
it's less. Well, I know it's less about controlling that fastball and more about putting some movement on that breaking ball and being able to snap it off and things like that. So,
but it's a mutual interest thing.
It is. I mean, obviously, and they want to get it, like you said, they want to get away with it, so they don't, and they also don't want. I mean, that's just another thing to add to it. I don't want to get hit in the ear hole with the 97-mile-an-hour fastball. So, they'll just take it and deal with it. I'm sure their hitters in the locker room are kind of like, man, this sucks, because he had that thing moving and it wasn't nothing I could do about it because he put this 12-6 on me and I just couldn't really because he had a little foreign substance. But then their pitcher was doing the same thing.
And same thing, and they're probably thinking, well, the alternative is
that's why we got the steroid era.
Yeah, I mean, and you're right. Obviously, the Yankee pitcher didn't really care if he hits anybody, but it's a mutual thing. I mean, the Red Sox are saying, well, he's going to do it. It's going to give him an advantage, but it's also good for me because I'm going to get some strikes. So it's one of those things where you take the good with the bad. But the point is, you should not be playing baseball up north until it's nice and warm. That's what all this comes down to, because you wouldn't even have this issue. The pine tar would just be illegal because, in this case, the Red Sox would have no interest in wanting the pitcher to have pine tar in it. But, it's cold, and they shouldn't be playing baseball this early. Push the season back. That's a whole nother story.
I'm just saying, 162 games. Like, what in the world are you thinking? That's way too many games. But they've been doing this for 1,000 years. They didn't ask me.
They should have.
Last thing here in the wire, Manny Pacquiao, Timothy Bradley, part 2 tomorrow. If Buffalo Wild Wings get their crap together, they're supposed to open on Monday, but if they'd have opened 3 weeks ago, we'd have been watching the NCAA tournament there, and then I might go watch this Bradley-Pacquiao fight there tomorrow night. It's going to be interesting to see if Pacquiao can kind of come back from what was devastating the last time he fought. He's had a rough go of it, but I was doing a little research and reading a little bit yesterday on it, and it sounds like he's probably a better matchup with Bradley than he had the last one, because from what I read, the first Bradley-Pacquiao fight, he was just really conservative, and he didn't quite go after him so much, and then that's why everybody was so up in arms about the decision that he came out in the next fight. And I'm trying to remember, was it Marquez that he fought, and he came out ultra aggressive and got caught with one, and then night and height. So it's going to be interesting to see which philosophy he kind of goes with tomorrow, and then how that fight turns out.
Yeah, I mean, look, Pacquiao's getting older, and there was a time where he could be ultra aggressive, ultra punch happy, and have the quickness to not get caught up with anything. But he's getting a little bit older now. We've talking about the fight with Floyd for the last 5 or 6 years. It never happened.
Never will.
Yeah, I mean, it never will. And the thing of it is, I just don't know if Pacquiao is that guy anymore. Because the thing about an interesting matchup with Mayweather is he had the quickness of Floyd, and he was also a harder puncher. So people were thinking it could be interesting. Now, Pacquiao doesn't have quite the quickness. He may still have some punching power, but I don't think he's the same guy. He may or may not beat Timothy Bradley. I don't know, but I don't think people are going to care as much as they were back in the day when you thought a fight with Floyd was imminent. Really a shame for boxing. I mean, it was a huge opportunity missed. We know that sport is suffering from a popularity standpoint.
It definitely is. And, the reason that I find this at least a little bit interesting is because if Pacquiao comes out and just dominates and he says, look, all that other stuff was, I was so worried about, my run for president in the Philippines and all this other political junk that I wasn't focused enough on training, and he just comes out and dominates and says, I got back to where I wanted to be. Yeah. Look at what I can do. And then Floyd comes out and dominates like he probably will, and like he always does. And then talk is back on. Yeah, they're still older.
Know it's not going to happen.
And, I mean, it'll at least be a topic of conversation. But if Pacquiao comes out tomorrow and gets worked, now it's all over.
Yeah, well, see, for me, Pacquiao's going to have to do this 2 or 3 more fights at least, because you got beat down a couple of times, at least you lost a couple of times. You got to make that up. But think about if you're Floyd Mayweather. You want the biggest payday you can possibly have. Yeah, Pacquiao may look good in one fight, But you need to see a lot more out of him. He has to work back up to your level, because even when Pacquiao was hot, Floyd didn't even respect him much anyway.
Well, he's got to know. Pacquiao's got to know he ain't getting 50-50 anymore.
Well, no, he's not getting 50-50. But the thing is, Floyd doesn't. He's very selective about his fights too, and he wants to make sure you're at least worthy of him, especially if it's going to be a big grand scale fight. And I think he's going to look at Pacquiao still as damaged goods. And you know what, Pacquiao, go beat a couple of more people, and then you can be back on my level to where I can get a real payday. Because other than that, I'm not going to mess with you. You know how Floyd is.
That may be what he actually does, but I'm talking about the circus that would be around those two if Pacquiao came out tomorrow and just dominated. You would hear it again. You would hear, okay, well, let's get this thing going. And there is no way you can convince me, that anybody convince me, that they wouldn't make more money fighting each other than anybody fighting either way. But if deep down somewhere, and if you listen to certain people, they'll tell you Floyd's afraid of Pacquiao, or they'll tell you Pacquiao's afraid of Floyd. Deep down, neither one of them want to lose that fight, because it's been talked about for a decade. One of them's going to have to lose. So I mean, unless they come out in a draw on that, who wants to kiss your sister? So there's a whole lot of intrigue to this fight if Pacquiao's able to come out.
Yeah, and I just don't think it's going to happen either way. So for me, it'd be nice if Pacquiao blew him out, but I don't think he's ever going to fight Floyd. So whatever.
You're probably right, but I'm just talking about the media guy in me that wants to see this, hear this big story, have this stuff to talk about. That's me hoping that Pacquiao comes out and wins tomorrow. Like I said, I'm probably not gonna go watch it because I ain't paying $50 to watch it. Just like WrestleMania. All these folks asking me about WrestleMania. Are you guys gonna talk? No, we're not gonna talk about WrestleMania because I figured out at age 13 that it was even too fake for me. I didn't want anything to do with it. Well, I mean, I knew, but it was just like, okay, I can't do this anymore. Like, Mom burnt my DX stuff, and I got in trouble. I got in trouble for telling somebody I got 2 words for them, and it was just all over from there. So
truck it, huh?
Can't get back. Yeah, something like that rhymes with that. All right, we got a little bit more before we get to Hog Talk right after the break.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. We've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
Here's what you missed.
updated news,
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
developing stories,
There's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
and weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on KRK4 today.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
All right, we're back here on the Sports Blitz on a Friday. Mark Freeman, Weldon Braxton, Emily Young in the Cogswell Motors studios. A little bit more wire-related topics to talk about right now. If you're following the NBA, it's coming down to the stretch run. Got teams vying for playoff spots. And, I never really give too much time or credence to the bottom of the playoff bracket because who really cares? Who gets the 8 seed and gets blown out in the first round
Nobody cares.
by the 1 seed. So we spend more time at the top of the bracket when we look at the teams sitting atop the Eastern and Western Conference. You've got San Antonio and Oklahoma City in the West. San Antonio with a 3.5 game lead on the Thunder, who they better hope don't catch them because they have swept them this year, and that would be a bad deal for them. Well, it looks like they got 4 games left, and they're 3.5 down. San Antonio wins one more. They've clinched the 1 seed, and then Indiana and Miami in the Eastern Conference. Notice the way that I'm saying that, not Miami and Indiana, because Miami has blown that lead. They had a game lead on Indiana, and they had a chance to run off and get the 1 seed, which, we've talked about this on and off, and Indiana was adamant that they wanted the 1 seed. They go through this struggle. Miami overtakes them. Indiana decides to sit all 5 starters. Pulls out a win anyway against the Bucks. You ought to quit. You ought to just resign and quit.
Well, they are.
When they sit all 5 of their starters and they still beat you, you ought to just go to the house because you're terrible. And Miami goes out and loses. Dwayne Wade gone for the 9th straight game tonight as the Miami Heat take on the Indiana Pacers. Huge game. If Miami loses this game, they're the 2 seed. There's just about no getting around it. They'd have to clear 2 games in 4, or I guess 3 left of Indiana because they couldn't tie. They'd lose the tiebreaker. Miami has to win this game. Then they would regain a half-game edge on Indiana, and then they still got to make up a game because they've got 1 game fewer played than Indiana. They're tied in the loss column, and Indiana's a game up in the win column. This is a must-win for Miami if they want the 1 seed.
Tell us how you really feel about it.
I'll tell you how I really feel. I think it's crazy that Dwayne Wade's sitting so much.
Yeah.
I know what they're doing, but it's still like, do you not? I guess they're expecting him to get all the rhythm that he's going to need in the first round or 2 of the NBA playoffs, and man, that's scary. I know they're not going to have to worry about it in the first round because they're going to play Atlanta or Washington, and if you can't beat them in 5 games, you might as well just not be in the playoffs at all. But what happens if he doesn't get back in the swing of things because he sat the last month?
Yeah, that's something to look at. And, the thing with Dwayne Wade is we've wondered how legitimate are his injuries. We know it's more about the rest, but we want to know, is there any legitimacy in terms of, is any of this stuff really bothering him? Can any of this stuff really hinder him come playoff time? And we just don't know. I would lean towards no for right now. But as time goes on, you look at not playing against Indiana. I think you and I expected, and a lot of people expected him to be playing in this Indiana Pacer game, given what's on the line. But, LeBron has said it multiple times. I know we may not believe him when he says it, but this team is putting a premium on rest and health over the number 1 seed. I don't know if a lot of us have really bought that when we heard it, but he said it, and this looks like that's what Miami's going with. They're putting a premium on being rested, but you mentioned what's going on on the top of the East. I'm looking at what's going on in the middle of the East because there is a race for the number 3 seed. It's really interesting to me, and here's why. If Chicago can jump Toronto to get the number 3 seed, that would keep Brooklyn and Chicago away from each other. And why is that pretty neat? Because I think they could each give a tough second-round matchup to the 2 top dogs. But if they end up being the 4 or 5, they would play each other, and the winner would play the 1 seed. But I'm looking right now, though, it'd really be interesting. Let's say Chicago jumps Toronto. Now Chicago's the 3, and it would reduce down them taking on the 2, which as it sits right now would be Miami. And then Indiana would take on the Brooklyn Nets. That would really be interesting to me because those are the 2. I don't even say they have a chance, but they're the 2 pesky teams. If they can be an annoyance to the 2 top teams, those are the candidates. And I'd like to see them split apart because it would give us more compelling second-round matchup.
I'm going to preface what I'm saying with the fact that I don't think Brooklyn could beat Miami in a 7-game series, but I don't want to see them.
Right,
so
exactly.
If that's going to happen, as a Miami fan who, this is saying they get the number 1 seed now, and I'll talk a bit about that here in just a second. But if, the way it's set up right now, if Miami goes on and gets the 1 seed, I'd like to see Toronto at the 4 and
Yeah.
Chicago at the 3, so that 4-5 matchup would be Toronto-Brooklyn, because I think Toronto can beat Brooklyn. They're just young and athletic enough that they could cause too many problems for Brooklyn. Chicago, I just think the grinded-out style, when you look at who they've got left, no Derrick Rose for Chicago.
Yeah.
Brooklyn's got guys who can grind it out with the best of them. They can get the win. They'll win that series. But if it's Toronto, I don't know. I might favor Toronto to win that series there. So I'm kind of looking at that thinking, if I'm Miami and I get the 1 seed, I want Toronto to slip to that 4, beat Brooklyn, because I don't think Toronto has a chance against Miami.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. That veteran grind it out, plus with the still some talent that can put the ball in the hole. I agree. Miami would not want to see Brooklyn. Toronto, you try to get an athletic match with Miami, that's not good. The only team that could think about it is maybe Oklahoma City, but nobody else athletically should even think about trying to approach the Miami Heat. Clearly, Brooklyn knows that they're going to try a different approach. So, I agree. I think they would much rather see Toronto than Brooklyn.
And then what I'm looking at now, if I talked about Miami going for the 1 seed. Tonight's going to tell the tale. If Miami can beat Indiana, then they have to fight for the 1 seed. And if they lose to Indiana tonight, what I do if I'm them, there's no way Toronto or Chicago can catch you for the 2 seed. LeBron James, Chris Bosh, Ray Allen, Dwayne Wade, they're not playing. Yeah, they're sitting out the rest of the season. They're sitting out those last 3 games. There's just no question about it. But if they win this game, that's when it gets interesting, because you win this game at home. It's at home tonight at Miami. You might as well go for the 1 seed. You might as well try to win those last 3 games. Dwayne Wade's not going to play. So LeBron James, you got to put a little bit more on him. And then what happens in the playoffs? Do you have some way of I guess you try to blow out the seed you play, the first team you play in 4 or 5 games at worst, and get a little bit of rest there before you go into the second round. But Miami, we've seen this over the past 3 years. Well, they've went for the long haul, and they've tried to do things with a long future run ahead of them. And, it's April 11th. You're going to see them playing into June if things go the way they want. So they've got to think about things from a long-term perspective. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not it really, like I said, it all comes down to tonight and how hard they fight for that number 1 seed.
It's funny you bring that up, because that's an area I wanted to hit. I know we're about to hit our hog talk here, but LeBron James, when you watch him play, and he's been this way his whole career, it always seems like, and you may not agree, but it seems like he is the hardest working superstar I've ever seen.
Why would I not agree with that?
Well, I didn't finish it. You may flip the script on me here.
All right.
It's a good thing, but I think it can be a bad thing. I just feel like when LeBron plays, and in Cleveland I just chalked it up bad teammates, whatever. It feels like LeBron just labors. Like he plays every possession, dives after every ball, just runs like a racehorse for all 48 minutes, to where he just wears down. I'm thinking about Michael, I'm thinking about Kobe, and they're different type of players, and they played hard certainly, but I just didn't feel like they exerted themselves as much as LeBron does. And in Miami, you figure, okay, it'll be a little bit better. He'll have Wade, and Wade's been out. That's been part of it. But even in Miami, it feels like LeBron just works so hard. He's just hustling and getting loose balls and making plays happen and chasing things down, to where he just wears himself out. And I just wonder, how many more years can he do it? And can he do it for this playoff run? Because it's been talked about. He had a big summer, got married, did all these different things, after a world championship run, all this stuff. Can he put a team on his back and just pull it almost by himself? Because that's the way it feels again. Because I'm almost worried about him a little bit. The fatigue effect is real for LeBron.
Yeah, I will concede that I think he. Although I'm sure things have, and I'm not sure it's positive, it's obvious that things have come easier to him than most people in their lives, in the fact that, he's just been great his whole life. 7th grade on, people have been talking about how great he is. It doesn't seem that he has that same gear that Michael and Kobe had, that was just kind of like, okay, well, I can still coast and get my 30. Yeah. And, and maybe it's because, like you said, he hadn't had as much help until these Miami days, and there are times when it seems like he does coast a little bit and let Dwayne Wade go get his whenever it's time. I remember the Indiana series a couple years ago. and he still put up good numbers. But he's got a little bit more Allen Iverson than Jordan in him as far as that goes. Like, I'm going to get out after it. And you saw how Allen Iverson's career sort of abruptly went downhill. And I think when LeBron goes downhill, it's not going to be a gradual decline. It's not going to be, and Michael Jordan didn't quite have that, but you've seen it a little bit with Kobe. He's kind of gradually going down. We'll see how it turns out when he comes back, but you're going to see LeBron just fall off one day.
And it just got me to thinking that game against Memphis. Again, I know it was no D Wade, so it was virtually Cleveland again, but I'm just thinking about he out there against Memphis, he was just laboring. He was trying to make every play and just going so hard to where I'm thinking, I don't know how long. I know he's physical. I don't know how long he can last, though.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I'm hoping that it's a lot longer. I'm hoping it's at least 6 or 8 more years where that he can, cement that legacy and that
teammates,
greatest of all time sort of conversation. So we'll be interested to see on Monday who won that game. Talk a little bit about the implications of that game. Got some practice notes from spring football practice. We're going to Hog Talk right after this break.
Hi folks, Richard Roberts with Cogswell Motors in Russellville. We've been in business since 1949. A dealership doesn't stay in business that long under the same ownership unless you're doing something right, and that's taking care of customers. We have the largest selection of new Ford, Lincoln, Mazda, and pre-owned vehicles in the River Valley. So if you want the most for your trade, the best interest rate on financing, and the best price on a new or pre-owned automobile, come to Russellville and see us. We're at 1900 East Main, or visit us on the web at cogswellmotors.com.
If you didn't count on KARK4 today this morning,
Here's what you missed.
updated news,
Police continue searching for suspects after a home intrusion overnight.
developing stories,
It's another piece of presidential history turning up here in Arkansas.
and weather and traffic on the force.
Friday night, Saturday morning will bring us our next chance of rain.
Every 10 minutes.
Around the clock.
Making your day easier.
So rise and shine and count on.
Count on.
Count on KRK4 today.
RiverValleyLeader.com is the #1 local source for instant news in the River Valley, offering HD video and live streaming along with top-notch coverage of all the news and events around the area. The River Valley Leader is the only place to go for all the information you need. Check out the newest local business featured on the site, as well as police news and coverage from important meetings, along with the personal stories, all at one convenient click. Check out RiverValleyLeader.com.
Today, there are more than 20 brands of cars being sold in America. So to be noticed, Ford and Cogswell Motors have to go further than anyone thought we could. How does Ford stand out above the crowd? Not just with plug-in vehicles like the new 2013 Ford Fusion Energy that gets a projected 100 miles per gallon equivalent, but also with a line of gas vehicles equipped with the innovative EcoBoost engines combining power and efficiency, plus a full measure of technologically advanced features. We invite you to stop into Cogswell Motors today. We go further than anyone thought we could, so that you can go further too.
Got to break some new news from, I guess it was yesterday. Hold on to your hats again, like we've said about other college athletes and their decisions whether or not to return or go pro. Joel Embiid is going pro. What?
My hat almost fell off. I tried to hold on to it.
Yeah. Wow, that's just wild. A couple other things here on the Sports Blitz. Final segment of the week. Welcome. If you're just joining us, Mark Freeman, Weldon Braxton, Emily Young in the Cogswell Motors studios. A couple of other SEC notes before we go to Hog Talk. Alti Tenpenny was arrested and came back from the judge yesterday that if he is able to keep his nose clean for a year, it will be dismissed. If not, he's going to be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. Now, what's his status with the team? I was seeing some reports. Was there anything? Is he still in good standing with Alabama? Or?
Well, I mean, this is just his first arrest, so yeah. I mean,
Okay.
sure, I'm sure they love him still. They
Okay.
he probably just got into another level of security with Alabama for getting in the arrest club.
Yeah, and I guess I saw some. I don't know if it was just opinion. I thought I saw something where his standing with the team was in jeopardy, but he's still on. Yeah, I said this the other day, Mark. When you're a running back and you leave this state to go play in the state of Alabama, you're going to have legal issues. So let this be a lesson learned. But Tenpenny's a guy who. Obviously, we saw the Sugar Bowl. Alabama may not have won, but we did see who's going to be the running back.
Yeah.
And it ain't T.J. Yeldon. T.J. looked like he was going to be the guy he was start the year, and then they had some other people, but it was Mr. Henry.
Derrick Henry.
That guy
He's a
is
baller.
the back. TJ will be supplementing the carries, and of course, like every year, it's another couple of 5 stars waiting in the wings in the backfield. So, I mean, Mr. Tenpenny's got his work cut out for him, and I know it's not going to help him with Nick Saban, the fact that he's found himself in legal trouble.
And as we stay here in the SEC, you may or may not have seen that Dorial Green Beckham, former Arkansas target, #1 player in the country out of Missouri a couple of years ago. I'll never forget being in Bud Walton Arena the day that the recruits came. It was on January the 20th, and Arkansas was playing Michigan. They brought a big crop of recruits, probably the best crop of recruits Arkansas's ever had in this facility at one time. They had Trey Williams from Texas A&M. He's their returner. They had Dorial Green Beckham. They had just guy after guy after guy, huge targets. Arkansas is #1 on his list, on DGB's list, and he went to Missouri. 2 years later, a couple of arrests, and this last one looking pretty nasty as, he's accused of some sort of abuse, and I don't want to get into all the information about it, but I'll read this ESPN story. It said the latest issue with Green Beckham apparently stems from a recent burglary incident. Columbia police said yesterday that Green Beckham will not be arrested because the alleged victims will not be pressing charges, but apparently Green Beckham was looking for his girlfriend Sunday morning. He allegedly forced his way into an apartment where two 18-year-old women live. They said they didn't want to sign anything. They turned down their right to go after DGB because they are afraid of the scrutiny of the media and the fans for going after a player.
Yeah, this is a tough deal, and we got the Kaepernick stuff coming out. I mean, if you haven't heard about it, it was part of an investigation too. But I mean, it's tough when you're an athlete. It's tough you got to be careful. Let me just stop right there. You got to be careful. You have to understand that what you do is under a microscope. You have to think about people are trying to get me. Even if they're not, you have to have that mentality that people are out to get you. Dorial Green Beckham, not the first time he's made some questionable decisions. Now his status with the Missouri football team is in question. And again, you just have to be careful. I know kids are kids and they'll do things, and we know we're not talking about perfect angels, all of them, but you're a big-time player. You're a big name. Eyes are on you. You've got to make better decisions. You have to understand this comes with your status, whether you like it or not, and you have to face the consequences if you get caught up in it.
Let's move on because we'll see how, if anything, comes of this. So like Weldon said, I like how he takes the other side of it because I'm thinking, what a scumbag. I'm glad he didn't go to Arkansas.
Well, that too, that too.
And I wished he did for the longest time. And I really, now that he's at Missouri, I just kind of wanted him to go away. But I'm glad you took that other side that, who knows if this is even true or if, something crazy just happened and he happened to be the victim here.
But he still has to be careful. That's where I would still blame him for just not putting himself in a good situation.
That's true. Let's move on to Hog Sports for just a couple of moments. That's all we've got left. Per Jason Carroll, content partner KNWA up there in Northwest Arkansas. A.J. Derby, Arkansas quarterback, started the Rutgers game and was terrible. Has moved to tight end. He is no longer going to play quarterback. Color me shocked there on that one. I didn't see that one coming at all. Duop Mitchell looks like he's not going to be in the 3-man rotation, so he's looking at wide receiver. And it's coming down to Brandon Allen, clear #1, Austin Allen. his backup, and Rafe Peavy, the number 3 man. Looks like those two guys are going to fight for the backup spot there. Not much of a surprise in my opinion.
No, not really, especially with A.J. Derby. I mean, we saw him play. There's not much there as far as a shock. The quarterback situation, it's interesting to me because in essence, you have 2 quarterbacks. Why? Because if you have Rafe Peavy as your third, I would think you're hoping you can redshirt it. You hope you don't have to go 3 deep during the season because of injuries or performance. So you hope it stops with Austin Allen. But if something happens to Brandon, Austin's the guy. Is Rafe Peavy really your backup now? Because then you're one play away from him having to play and burn his red shirt. Or do you want to make sure you keep a Doo-Wop Mitchell at least ready to be the backup should he have to slide into that 2 hole? Just something to think about as a coach as far as how you want to handle your red shirt and your personnel. But I want to see where Doo-Wop Mitchell can help. Have you heard if he's going to play in the secondary or receiver or anything like that?
They said that he went to practice with the wide receivers yesterday, didn't get many or any reps at wide receiver. But I'd heard good stuff about him as a safety in high school. So I would like to see him over there. I think they need more help over there. Maybe that's, I don't know. It sounds like the wide receivers were doing pretty well, and if they're moving him to wide receiver rather than safety, that scares me because I wanted the wide receivers to be kind of all right with where they were. We talked about Corliss Marshall, possible concussion. He returned to practice yesterday without contact, and redshirt sophomore wide receiver Eric Hawkins back at practice also without contact. This is all from a Hogville.net practice report. Beast back 50. Don't want to give that a credit where it is due. But it's going to be interesting to see where these guys end up position-wise. And really, how Brandon, I want to see the spring scrimmage, and I've heard good things about, it's possibly going to be open, but I want to see how Brandon Allen can play when he's healthy.
Yeah, I actually thought about going up tomorrow. I hadn't decided yet. The second scrimmage, I think it'll be open tomorrow. But I want to see what this team looks like, this defense. Keep hearing about how aggressive they are. You keep hearing about the coverage, being more aggressive and tighter, hearing about more blitzes. Which that makes the offense better, too. When your defense is aggressive, now Brandon Allen's having to throw to smaller targets and smaller windows, and it's tougher on him, which will make him better. So I want to see how this team looks. You can kind of get a feel for – they have good personnel at this position, that position. You can't tell the whole story, but you can get a good idea.
And I'm gonna be angry at you, Alex Collins, if you don't get your crap together and get in shape, because I'm still reading that he's a little slower right now, and he's not quite in shape. So he's gonna have to get his stuff together. I know it's spring practice, but in the summers when you're gonna really work on it. But you like to see these guys stay in shape and get better from year to year. Wouldn't that just be a novel change?
And that's something. Yeah, not stay the same, but get better.
Get better. You've got a chance to go play professionally one day. I would really hope that you would take advantage of that. We talked about Doriel Green Beckham, and as we leave today, just reading here on Twitter, Dave Matter said John Beckham, the father of Doriel Green Beckham, called to issue a statement from Doriel and said that he'll post it shortly, but says that Doriel is entering counseling. So at least there's some sort of resolution, there's some sort of truth to whatever stuff has been going on in his life, that it's not necessarily him being the victim. He's taking a little bit of responsibility. So we'll see how that turns out.
And he needs to. But big series, Mark. LSU, hope Arkansas can get 2. Dave Van Horn kind of flipping the rotation. Jalen Beeks will be tomorrow's starter. Trey Killian open up the series against Aaron Nola. We know Aaron Nola is a shutdown pitcher.
Yeah. Is that conceding the game right there?
It feels like, even though Trey Killian's talented, you face a Nola, 0.47 ERA, it's going to be tough to score tonight.
It seems like what a lot of teams did to Arkansas the last couple of years. They're like, all right, well, we're not going to get a hit off Stanek, or we're not going to get, we're not going to be able to beat, these guys going all the way back. We'll just throw you it's like playing spades. I'm throwing off, because I know you're going to get that. You're going to throw that ace, and I'm going to throw that too. They're going to make sure that we don't get to face their best pitcher with one of our best pitchers and still possibly lose. So Dave Van Horn playing a little, I like it, playing a little.
I like
out of sorts
on Sunday.
Yeah,
I think Arkansas can win on Sunday. Obviously, Beeks is the man on Saturday. I think Arkansas can get 2.
All right, we got to get out of here. That's all the time we've had for today. We got to look on Monday at a list that Weldon brought up of coaches in the SEC. They've got, or just coaches in the country in football. We've got Bielema 12th out of 14 in the SEC and 53rd in the country after being in the top 25 last year. So we'll look at that next Monday. Obviously, we think that that's what have you done for me lately. rather than resume. But that's all the time we've got for today. For Weldon and Emily, I'm Mark saying so long. We'll be back at 11 o'clock on Monday morning, rivervalleyleader.com with more Sports Blitz.